good morning and blessings. I am Rebecca and this is my new moon solar eclipse video for Pillars of the Moon. I'm here a bit early this time because the new moon isn't until Monday, but there's a lot of coming up for people at the moment, even with me as well, and so I felt like coming on a few days before the new moon, just to bring through what wants to come through now. For us in the Northern Hemisphere, we're in the dark of the moon, in the darkest time of the year, before the winter solstice, so this is like the most dark, there's less sunlight in this time of year. And also we're in an eclipse season, and it's been a really crazy year, right? So for those of us who are in the north, we could be feeling a lot of darkness right now and feelings of anxiety and things like that. So we're just wanting to come on and say hi and just share some wisdom that's coming in from the stars and the earth. So I've got my notes here because I've got all the times written down, because I don't have to remember it then if it's written down. So the new moon solar eclipse will be in Ophiuchus on Monday, which is the 14th in UK time, so GMT time zone, at 16:16. So 16:16, it's a powerful number, isn't it? So that's the time of the new moon exact in Ophiuchus. The sun is still in Ophiuchus, and the moon will be joining the sun for the new moon. The eclipse begins at 13:33. It's a solar eclipse, which will go on for about 5.5 hours, and the maximum eclipse will be at the time of the new moon, which is 16:13, so just before the new moon, a few minutes before, and it will go on until 16:53 in the evening. And you can find out your time zone on timeanddate.com, and all the different time zones for the eclipse. I think it's only visible in like Argentina, and it's not visible in the UK, but we can feel it, it's just an energy, and we can definitely ripples out throughout the world. And so this eclipse, it's really powerful. It is the phoenix energy. It's the rising from the ashes. And so the lunar eclipse, that we had last week at the full moon, it's like going down and into our feeling self, and like I said in my last video, it's about going down the serpent's tail into the underworld. And so this is why, this time can feel really intense, and it's really important to really acknowledge and honor what's coming up for us now. In these 2 weeks between the full moon and the new moon, this is like our window of transformation, where we really get to feel ourselves, and a lot of what can be coming up can be to do with our inner child self, and things that happened to us when we were younger, or traumas and karma that's playing out. And so by the time we get to the solar eclipse on Monday and the new moon in Ophiuchus, it's like all of what we've, in the cauldron of the underworld, all of what we've learned, it's like taking the gifts from that, and transforming it with love and saying, okay, yeah, I see that wounded part of myself come into my heart and love that part of myself. I've had lots of stuff coming up, big processes this week, and a lot of it is about like loving that child in myself, and when I have a process or a trigger, to really hold myself in that and to really witness that in myself and feel it and be like, okay, what is this about for me? It's not about the person who's triggering me, it's about myself and what's it bringing up. And so it's a really, really deep time, and so what is coming up for you right now? It's really important to really feel those things. And there can be a tendency to try and escape those things, so we'll be really busy, or in our mind, or we'll take drugs or alcohol, or we don't want to be in that feeling self. I had a really big cry this week, and it was so needed. And I was like, wow, gosh, I was holding on to all of that. And so sometimes when we, use this technique of distraction, or we'll be on social media, or we'll watch a film, or we'll do something, we don't want to go there. It's like, but this is an opportunity to really go there. In this dark of the moon that's coming up, we've got, today's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We've got 4 days of this real deep kind of moving, it's like, wow. And I just wanted to share a little dream, a big dream that I had. It's a few years ago now, but it's really relevant to the energy of what's happening now. And I'm realizing now what this dream was. Like it just come back into my awareness, and I'm like, oh yeah. So 2.5 years ago, I moved to Glastonbury, Avalon, and I was walking along the lanes with a friend of mine, and a snake crossed our path. And that's really auspicious. Like, I didn't know that there was snakes in England at the time, and I researched, and I was like, wow, yeah, that was an adder. Okay, right, so I had an adder cross my path. And then that night, I had this dream that was so powerful. I was in this cave, and I was in this pool of water, like it was like a bubbling thermal pool. And in my dream, there was all these tiny snakes in the water, and I was like, oh my goodness, there's snakes in the water. And then I could feel the snakes, and they were saying to me, it's okay, it's all right. And then one of the snakes twined itself around my arm, like the Isis priestess. They'd always have the serpents twined around their arm. It's like a symbol of the Isis priestesses. So yeah, and then in my dream, I got out of the pool, and I still had the snake around my arm, and it was like the snake was guiding me. It's like I have to go to this great temple. And so on the way, I went to this labyrinth, right? And I got to meet the Minotaur, and it was this kind of big, like, man, like, and I was like, wow, okay, and I met with him. And then some reason, then I left that, and I carried on going to the temple. And then as I was going, I remembered that I could fly. So I started flying in my dream. And then my partner, he's got a really strong connection with Hanuman. And so Hanuman flies. And so in my dream, I was flying with Hanuman. We arrived at the temple. And then there was this massive serpent woman there, like Medusa with all the snakes in her hair. And she was like, this anaconda. And my instinct was to run towards her. And in my dream, we merged and we turned to ash. And in that merging with that great beast, the anaconda woman, I was like bubbling. It was like lava bubbling up and twinkling, and it was like this kind of like. And then I remember in my dream, I turned into this like fairy being, and I was flying around with all these like colours, and it was so ecstatic, and I had wings, and I was like, this is who I am. And then I flew up, and then Hanuman was there, and we flew off, and it was like, wow. So why am I sharing this now? It's like, because this is the medicine of Ophiuchus, and she came to me in my dream 2 years ago, to share this wisdom with me. It's about meeting with those parts of ourselves that are scary and that we're afraid of, and that, like, yeah, no, I can't go there. Move towards that, merge with that. That's the greatest power that we have. And that's what we find that in the underworld, and so when we don't shame or judge or disregard those parts of ourselves, when we welcome them in, it's like welcoming in the dark, it's like then we come into wholeness. It's the yin and the yang. It's the inhale and the exhale. It's the light and the dark. And so I find there's a lot in modern spirituality about, the dark and how it's wrong and bad. it's not coming into wholeness, because we're judging or, saying that that part of us is wrong and seeing it outside of ourselves rather than saying, okay, what is this bringing it back to ourselves, feeling that, and then transforming it with love, we become our true self, and then we rise from the dark. We have to become the dark and really witness it and hold it and love it to transform into who we really are and to find our way back to our spirit, and my spirit is definitely of the Fae. And so in my dream, it's like, wow, yeah, of course I'm fairy. Like, wow, of course my partner is Hanuman, anyway, this is just like my amazing life, I guess. I just wanted to share that dream with you because it feels really important and really in sync with this new moon. And so, going back to the chart, I hope you liked that story, by the way. So in the lifetime sky, 13-star sign astrology that I use, the new moon in Ophiuchus will be at 15 degrees. The sun and the moon will both be at 15 degrees of Ophiuchus. And Mercury, our planet of communication, and the south node, our karma and past lives, are at 12 degrees of Ophiuchus. So what is coming up right now, it's about communicating from the karmic past, like the voice of Ophiuchus from the past. It's like our collective karma connected to Ophiuchus, and the fall of Ophiuchus, and a lot of the stuff about shaming the serpent, shaming the feminine, it's coming up and it wants to be heard. It needs to get its voice out. I've had a real strong activation of my voice this last week. I've had a cough and it's like, wow, okay, I'm really healing my voice and I'm aware of that. So everything that happens in our body is teaching us something. It's showing us something about what we're healing. Our body is our greatest teacher. So, yeah. So the sun moves into Sagittarius on the 18th of December. So in the lifetime sky. So that's when the sun crosses over the galactic center. So because in the lifetime sky, the galactic center is in Sagittarius. And it looks like a yoni. It's this beautiful womb portal. And so the sun going into Sagittarius, it's like crossing over the womb or the yoni. It's the rebirth of the sun. Just in time for the winter solstice, or the summer solstice in the southern hemisphere. But like, wow, look at that. It's like the moon crosses over the womb or the yoni, the galactic center, in the time of the solstice. And it does this every year, we're going around and around and around in this cyclical nature. So really powerful. And on the 21st we have the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn that we've all been talking about. They'll be at 0 degrees of Capricorn in the lifetime sky. That's where they'll be in the actual sky. And so 0 degrees of Capricorn, like 0 is also like the womb or the yoni. It's the beginning. It's like returning to the womb. So Jupiter and Saturn will be in the womb of Capricorn. It's like they're going back to the beginning of Capricorn. It's like a reset for Capricorn. And Capricorn to me is like the builder, it's the structures, it's the systems, it's time. So we're having a reset of time, a reset of how we are structured and how we are like contained in time. And I can see like this vision of like, imagine like a bird that's been in a cage for so long, and you open the door and you say, there you go, you got a new beginning. The bird might not want to leave the cage, and it's like we have been living in this life or this system for so long, since we're born. It's like we get born into this system of like, okay, you get up at this time and then you eat at this time, and then you when you get to a certain age you go to school and then you do all this, and it's all very structured into this system, right? And we go around on this hamster wheel of life, and then, we get to another age and we get a job, and then we get up at this time, and it's all kind of organised for us, so we don't have to really think about that, and so to then say, okay, here's the door, here's the key, off you go. The bird might even not remember how to fly anymore, because we've been in a cage for so long. It would take a fuckload of courage to leave that comfort zone, after all of those years of being contained in a system that has been created to keep us in there, So to actually leave, it's a massive step for humanity. But something needs to change. We need to change. It's not going to happen. This reset is not going to happen unless we put in the work. We could stay in the cage if we want, and I'm sure there'll be lots of people who would be happy to stay in the cage. Maybe there will be people that stay in the cage. But I've got this analogy that I really love. I love analogies. So we are all like water, right? We're mostly made of water. So I like to envision things like water, the analogy of water. And so imagine this beautiful stream, and it's heading, this river, it's heading down to the ocean. And that's where we're all headed. We're heading back to the ocean, the great cosmic ocean. And so our journey as water particles is to travel, and meander across the earth until we find our way home. And there's lots of different ways to find our way home. But in this part of the river, there is a dam been put in. We don't know who put the dam in, we won't go there, but all of the water has become blocked, and it's like stuck. It's like it can't go anywhere. It's like not going home. It's cut off from its home to its destination. It can't get there. It's stuck. So, all of the water stops moving. And what happens when water stops moving is it starts to smell, it gets yucky, and mosquitoes lay their eggs in it, and it's like, yeah, not very good. And so, but, if the water is so used to being in that little dam, it doesn't even know that it's stuck, maybe. It's just like, well, this is just the way it is. It's just shit, It's just like, we're just here. But then a few particles of water might say, actually, I know that we've got to go home. There's another way, we can get out of here. And if one particle, one drop of water moves, it doesn't really make a difference. So then that water particle, will go and tell its friends, and it'll be like, there's another way. We don't have to stay here in the stink. There's a new way. Like, you can go this way. And then a group of water goes and moves, and a tiny trickle forms, and then some of the other water will say, oh, there's another way, and it'll all start moving. So it only takes, a few of us to really see that there is a different way, a new way that can take us home, and we move past the block, and we make our way home. And so eventually, the rest of the water might move as well. Maybe some of it will decide to stay and stay and make a swamp, and they'll have frogs and whatever they want, but it's trusting that flow and listening to the inner movements, because we are water, right? I watched this really powerful video by an Indigenous woman Aboriginal woman in Australia, and she had said in the video, I am the river is me, I am serving the river, and the river is watching. And this is also the medicine of Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus is the elements of everything. It's the alchemy of earth and water and fire and air, and it's like, it's magic. It's so magical, the energy of Ophiuchus. Like, wow. And so this part of our wheel, the constellation of Ophiuchus, was taken out. And so in Western astrology, we don't use Ophiuchus, but the sun does go through Ophiuchus. The sun is in Ophiuchus right now, all the way until the 18th of December. So let's celebrate Ophiuchus. Let's celebrate our gateway home. Let's celebrate our descent. We are the serpent tamers, the serpent bearers. We can embody our greatest power and rise from the ashes like a phoenix. But we have to do the work. We have to see ourselves before we can rise. It's like then we'll just stay in the stinky pool of water or in the cage, or we have to put in the work to change. And that's not easy. I know, I'm in it too. I'm human and I'm experiencing this as well. So it's really powerful, powerful time. So in the pillars of the moon, this is the third moon. This is of the 13. This is the homecoming moon. So for us in the northern hemisphere, we've done our descent. We're in the darkest part. It's like going down and down and down through the dark. And we return. It's the time when the seed meets the galactic center, and it's like that time of conception. It's the time of homecoming and family and union, of celebrating and coming together. And it just so happens, that we celebrate Christmas or the solstice at this time of year. And it's like, of course, it's the homecoming time. And in the southern hemisphere, you are in the Holly King moon. So this is also about expression, creativity, fun. It's about community and coming together. And then you're in the summer solstice, so it's a time of most light. So wherever you are in the world, this is a time of celebration. It's the crossing over point from light to dark or dark to light. And it's all perfect, it's all in balance, we are in such a transformational time. And when we come to our great conjunction on the solstice, I really invite you to make an offering to Jupiter and to Saturn, the expansion, the abundance and the prophecy, and the structures and the systems of Saturn, and say, okay, this is my true self, this is my greatest work, this is my soul essence that's coming into this body now. And offer it up. It's like, this is who I'm going to be now. Make a commitment. Venus is conjunct Juno. So it's about our commitments and our values and our hearts. And Libra, it's about coming into balance with all of these things. And then Venus will move into Scorpio soon after that. So I can't remember the exact date. But that's like, then we're transforming the feminine and our values, and we're letting go. And such a big time, isn't it? Such a big time. Wow. So yeah, I think that's all. I'm just gonna feel if there's anything else. What is your medicine? What did you come here to share? Yeah. And the voice of Ophiuchus is so strong right now. It's such a karmic time, we're really being pulled down the serpent's tail into the deepest parts of ourselves. And that's where our gifts are as well. They might have been hidden from us in childhood, or when we came in with all these gifts, if they wasn't witnessed or acknowledged, we might have said, okay, well, that's not valuable, and buried it. But Ophiuchus is giving us a chance to reclaim those gifts, our gifts. So yeah, what are they? What are our gifts that were buried in the dark? This is our time to explore that, really become who we are destined to be. Wow. Yay, okay, so that's all, definitely. That's complete now. So I'm going to put a copy of the chart on my on here as well, on my Instagram page and on my Facebook page. So if you love what I'm talking about, what I'm sharing about, please do share. and follow me, subscribe, all of that jazz. Yeah, and I will be back at the full moon, which is on the 30th of December this year, just in time for the new year, the new Gregorian calendar year. Yeah, so that will be in Gemini in the lifetime sky. So there we go. That's all, folks. I'm signing off. I love you lots. Mwah! Blessed solar eclipse. Bye.